He was born with wings, but never used them. His name was Ion, a small bird with a silent heart. He lived in a golden cage that shined but suffocated every morning. He saw the sky through the bars. The clouds called him. The wind invited him, but the voices around him said, "You can't fly." They lied to you. Wings are just decoration. You are safe here. Don't dream too much. Ion listened. Silently, day after day, he started believing the cage was home, but something inside him kept whispering a voice that said, "You were born for more." He would watch the eagles fly, far and free, and wonder, why not me? His heart beat louder when the wind howled. His wings trembled, aching to be used, but fear held him like chains. What if I fall, he thought. What if they laugh at me? So he stayed, in silence, in the golden cage one evening. As the sun painted the sky with fire, Ion sat near the edge of his cage. The wind passed softly through the bars, carrying a voice that he had never heard before. It was deep, strong, and full of stories. He turned to see an old eagle resting on a far branch. The eagle's feathers were gray, but his eyes held the sky. "I've seen you watching," the eagle said. "Why don't you fly?" Ion lowered his head and whispered, "I'm not meant to fly, that's what they say." The eagle laughed gently, not with mockery, but wisdom. "They fear your wings, not because they're weak, but because they remind them of their own chains." Ion looked up, confused and curious. "Were you ever caged?" he asked. The eagle nodded slowly. "Long ago, but one day I listened to the sky." "What did it say?" "It said, you were born to fly, not to fear." Ion felt something stir in his chest, like a flame waiting for air. That night, he did not sleep. He kept listening to the wind. And the sky whispered again, "Your wings remember the sky, even if you've forgotten." The next morning, Ion woke with a restless heart. The words of the eagle echoed in his mind, but so did the voices of the cage. "You're too small, you'll never make it. What if your wings aren't strong enough? What if the sky doesn't want you?" He looked at his wings, delicate and untested. He stretched them gently, unsure if they would hold. "What if I fall and never rise again? What if they all laugh at me?" His heart beat fast, not with courage, but confusion. He remembered the eagle's eyes, full of sky, but fear painted shadows on his thoughts. "I am not an eagle, I am just a small bird." He walked back to the corner of the cage, curled up in doubt and silence, but deep inside, something kept glowing, a small voice that refused to die. "You may fall, but you'll learn. You may struggle, but you'll grow. The sky may be far, but your wings were made for it." Ion closed his eyes. He didn't feel brave, but he felt something shift. Not courage, but curiosity. "What if I can?" The morning sky was wide and waiting. Ion stood at the edge of the cage. His wings shook, not from weakness, but from choice. He looked at the bars, once protection, now prison. The voices still echoed. "Dante, leave it, it's dangerous out there. You're not ready." But another voice whispered louder, "You were not born for this cage. You were born to fly." Ion took a deep breath. His heart raced like a storm inside his chest. He stepped forward. His claws touched the last bar. He paused. This was the moment fear screamed, hope whispered, and Ion listened to the whisper with all his strength. He spread his wings and pushed past the bars. For the first time he was out. The world was wide, the sky was endless, the wind kissed his feathers. He looked back at the cage, not with regret, but with realization. He had broken the first barrier, not the bars, but the fear. The sky opened its arms to Ion. He flapped his wings, nervous but free. For a moment, he soared. He felt like he belonged to the wind, but freedom was unfamiliar. His wings forgot the rhythm. The wind spun too fast, and suddenly, he slipped. He tumbled through the sky, wings twisting, heart racing. The ground rushed toward him. Fear returned. I can't do this. I was wrong to try. And then, crash. He fell among the trees. Bruised and breathless, pain echoed through his small body. Tears filled his eyes. Maybe they were right. Maybe I don't belong in the sky. He curled beneath a leaf, shivering, silent. But the wind didn't leave. It moved gently around him. You fell, but falling isn't failure. It means you tried, and that's how you learn. Even eagles fall. Ion opened his eyes. He was hurt, but not broken, and somewhere deep inside his wings still believed. The forest was quiet. Ion lay still beneath the leaves. His wings ached, his body bruised, but his spirit, it refused to die. He thought of the sky, of the wind in his feathers, of the moment he was free. Even if it was short, it was real, and real things are worth fighting for. He stood up slowly, each movement a challenge, each breath a battle. But he stewed. The wind returned. You rose once, you can rise again. He stretched his wings. They trembled, but they still opened. He flapped gently, then harder, until the air lifted him, not high, but enough. He wasn't flying, he was rising, and that was the beginning. Step by step, wing by wing, he would learn again, not just how to fly, but how to rise after the fall, because true flight doesn't begin in the sky, it begins in the heart. Ion flew short distances each day. Each flap of his wings grew stronger. He still stumbled, still fell sometimes. But now he knew falling wasn't the end, it was part of the flight. He met birds who had never tried. They warned him to stop, told him it wasn't safe, but he smiled because he had tasted the sky, and once you taste it, you can't go back to the cage. He began to fly higher, not to escape, but to become what he was always meant to be, an eagle, a warrior of wind, a dancer of the sky. One day he flew above the clouds. The world below looked so small, and he realized the sky was never out there. It was inside him all along. The sky he feared was the sky within. The wind greeted him like an old friend. The sun warmed his feathers, and the clouds opened paths for him. Ion was no longer afraid, not of falling, not of failing, because he had learned that true flight begins with courage, not strength, not perfection, but the courage to try. He looked down at the cage far below. It looked small, like a forgotten dream. He remembered the voices. You can one Yuri, not meant to, but he had not because they were wrong, but because he chose to believe in himself. He soared through the sky, not running from fear, but rising through it. The wind beneath his wings was no longer a stranger, it was home. He wasn't just flying, he was becoming all that he was meant to be. He closed his eyes, let the sky hold him, and whispered to the wind, I was born to fly.